capacity to the entrepreneurial journey. So we try and provide them with the spacing and capacity building to enable them to make their journey from, I guess, ideation into fully fledged business that much easier. So provide them with spacing, provide them with resources, advice, meeting rooms, and resources that enable them to grow their businesses faster than they would ordinarily on their own. So we give them that little edge to grow their businesses. We're not like C-Space, we're only just the one location for now, but we hope that can change very soon. We can start expanding when, sort of the industry becomes more, known to the public, and we can, with innovators like Collar, we can actually grow the space into something that's more fully fledged and is comparable to, I guess, the West. So that's a very long summary. But that's who I am, essentially. Thank you.
Excellent. Tayo.
Hello. Yeah. My name is Tayo Odunsi. I'm a director in Ventures Park. I'm also CEO of Northcourt Real Estate advisory and services company here in Lagos. At Ventures Park, I don't know, many of you may know Ventures Park. Anybody that doesn't know Ventures Park? Anybody knows Ventures Platform? Okay, so Ventures Park is the co-working space that actually houses Ventures Platform. I'll talk a little about Ventures Platform, which is really an acceleration program for tech startups and other like startups. But the startups are housed within Ventures Park, essentially a co-working space. We have about 24 private offices and about 40 content for people to use. But some of the key things about Ventures Park is when founding the space, one thing we considered was how people walk out of space and what's quite important for tech entrepreneurs, tech startups, to make them much more productive. And that's why the space is very, very creative. It's inspiration, trying to get the startups to be more inspired to do more work than they would ordinarily do. Also, Ventures Park also has several programs that we do over the weekends, over public holidays, to try to promote collaboration between the startups that work within the space. So that's
Excellent. Can we please swap Tayo's microphone to another one? But can you, in a nutshell, tell us what you do, how you do it, and then we are ready.
Okay. Everyone can hear me? Good. So Modupe Odunyami, that's my new surname. I run Capital Square. I've been doing it since 2013, and what we do there is a co-working space in a nutshell. So we provide space, we provide meeting rooms, we provide opportunities, so networking opportunities, capacity building, so workshops, seminars, fireside chats, that sort of thing, just to help make it easier for small businesses. So I don't use the word startups a lot, or tech startups. A lot of us would say we are small businesses and growing businesses. So we're looking at small businesses and growing businesses and making it easier for them to, focus on their work and focus on building their businesses. And we're trying to give them resources that can help them in work and in life to make it easier on doing. That's it.
Okay, excellent. I mean, we're going to throw it open to the audience to ask questions, and then, of course, I'll pick some things from social media. So if you're sharing this, please, the hashtag is #CoworkNG. Just let's share conversations and then get questions in from there as well. Also want to recognize global partners who are a part of this, from Coworking Europe to Coworking Africa to Coworker.com to Open to Cowork Insight to Deskmag, all across the world that are partner with us to launch Nigeria's first co-working space, and of course to all our service providers who you've seen outside. Thank you so much to everyone that made this happen. Wi-Fi, .com.ng, Accountier. Thank you to Also Genius. Thank you to all the other ones, and I'll mention your name as we go along, to our co-sponsor, Fidelity Bank. Thank you. Your reps are here. Thank you, Video Business Hall, for sponsoring. Thank you. Now we're diving deep into the conversation. Just before she left, the CEO of Fine and Country, Fine and Country is a real estate company, said something pretty critical, and I'm going to throw it back at you, Voduba, to start from there. She said that, there is no co-working without real estate. How true is that? That it is the heart of the conversation. How true is that in your opinion?
I think there are a number of ways to look at it. So obviously a co-working space needs to be in a space. That's standard. But then if you look at let me even go back. A co-working space needs to be in a space, and it needs to be designed in a way that supports collaboration, that supports, working on your own. So if you're looking at that, then yes, in finding the space, in designing the space, real estate is a huge part of it. Interior design is a huge part of it, to create the right environment for businesses to thrive and for businesses to collaborate. But then going into the future and looking at how people are working now and how people are going to work, going forward, we see that it's becoming more decentralized. So people are working from coffee shops, people are working from home, and even while the co-working space thing is trying to get people out of coffee shops, people will still always do that. So it's a matter of really building a community. So I see co-working in the future being more of a network. So if you're a co-working space operator, a co-working community operator, more like you are connecting networks of spaces that may not be built as co-working spaces, but might have the right things and the right things in the environment for businesses to thrive and for people to collaborate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Two things you said, and I'm going to throw it out to Tunde as his space. You said, you mentioned community and you mentioned collaboration. So getting away from the real estate, the brick and mortar of it, how important do you think the community aspect of co-working is, and also the collaboration part of it?
All right, thank you. I think it's really important. For us at SitSpace, we really see ourselves as a fintech hub. So ideally we want people or startups or entrepreneurs who are interested in fintech to come into SitSpace and be able to use the facilities that we have and be able to use the collaboration with the startups we're building to be able to launch their own businesses. For example, at one time we had the likes of TopCheck in there with us before they left Nigeria. We had Simple Pay. We had all of these fintech brands that, as an entrepreneur and you focus on fintech, you can easily come into SitSpace and you would be exposed to this unfair advantage you won't get anywhere else. So for us, it's really important to build this identity that when you come in, you know that you know this is what you're after. You know this is what's going to make your business successful. Not really taking in freelancers, and we're starting to sort of shape what we want from our space. We want it to be very dedicated to fintech. So we essentially, it's identity and collaboration is part of what we want to do next.
So it's focused. It's focused on fintech as opposed to hybrid businesses. Just
yes.
Focus on
yes.
fintech. Okay.
Typically, you have to pay the bills, right? So you can't turn everybody away.
Yeah.
So the idea is, we want to have this fintech hub where you can come in and be an amazing entrepreneur, and you will plug it into the likes of a payment gateway like SimplePay. You plug it into a lending platform and use the data like QuickCheck or InvoicePay that does SME loans, and you can be able to build your product successfully with that, and it becomes a launch pad for you. So that's the basic idea, but when it takes time to build that. Not everybody comes into the space with the agenda to be a fintech entrepreneur. So ideally, it should take time for us to build the identity, build that brand, and we'll start to do that.
Yeah. That's the statistics are reading that in the next 3-4 years, essentially by 2020, the entire global workforce is going to be made up of 50% freelancers and entrepreneurs, so people who are literally running their businesses and building different things. How prepared are we in Nigeria to absorb this market, and what role do you think co-working platforms have to play in absorbing and encouraging that they succeed?
Okay, can I just start off by going back to the earlier questions and some of the we posted about the co-working and the need for the actual space. I had a different mindset. I believe that co-working is a state of mind and co-working is a process. That if I'm collaborating with my peers in a location, I'm co-working. Right. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in a co-working space. I think the co-working space is a layer, which you put on top, which enables these collaborations to foster and to it adds that oil to the cogs. Makes it more. It provides a convenient space that's more suited to collaboration. So that's just my opinion. I think you can go anywhere, but obviously by adding nice bean bags and funky furniture and nice artwork, it helps the whole process and the creation. But getting back to your question just now, I think the statistics are looking very promising for businesses like us, for co-working spaces and for shared office spaces, because obviously, like you said, 40 to 50% of the workforce is moving in that direction. I think I don't know how prepared we are. I think there's going to be an explosion of people moving in that direction. I think we need to have more of these sort of events. We need to work together. We need to collaborate and understand, how, because we have an issue. The real estate is extremely expensive. So are we going to be able to expand at the rate we want to fulfill, the demand? I know I get a lot of demand for people who want to come to Premier One, but one of the issues is that we're still very small. We kind of got into co-working by mistake. So we've been as focused and as
by mistake, we'll come to that shortly. What a really good mistake that you made.
Sure. So yeah, we kind of like I think we need to. I'm not sure how prepared we are. We need to look at the real estate aspect, which is very important. So
excellent, and I think that links directly to Tyro. So Tyro, you wear two hats. You're the one as a director at Ventures Park. And I will please start preparing your questions, because after this I'm coming to you before coming back to me. So just get your questions ready. I think there will be a floor microphone that is going to go around for people to ask questions. So real estate is expensive. You people are expensive. So if I think about the growth of this space and look at entrepreneurs, service providers, enablers, financiers, investors, all sitting in this room, interested in this industry. But there's one critical component of the industry, which is the infrastructure itself. Systems will tell you, Ikoyi, running a space from Ikoyi, if you're renting, you know what it's like. If you bought it, you know what you bought it for. And the same applies to pretty much everywhere else in Lagos and Miami. Outside of Lagos, I realize statistics in terms of interest shortly to tell you the interest across Nigeria. But it tells you that Lagos is really the heart and soul at the moment, because every week there are 639 searches for co-working spaces in Nigeria, and 8% of that is done from Lagos. The next is Abuja, 69, and the rest is 5, 3, 2, 4, Kaduna, Akure. So it tells you that Lagos is the market, Abuja is next, very, very tiny, and then everywhere else is following. Real estate in Lagos is absolutely outrageous. I don't know how what is doing in Joffrey Estate, but we'll come to that, and we have one in the bill as well, I know. But Tyro, what's up in the real estate industry? How is it going to enable this growth that will absorb everyone that is sitting here right now, either as entrepreneurs or service providers or enablers?
Well, I think the way the real estate market in Nigeria is structured actually is what has partly enabled co-working up until this point. Looking at pricing and tenure, for instance, those are two factors that create significant entry barriers for entrepreneurs or startups, to rent space. So, for instance, the way we build in Nigeria, we build large spaces, one-bedroom apartments that are just getting very common in nice areas. So we build 3-bedroom houses, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, and not everybody can afford that kind of space. So, nice, well done apartments, 1-beds, studios. You can't readily find those kind of spaces in very nice places that people want to say convert from a residential use to their office. So that's not in part enable co-working. Also, second thing is tenure. All right. I mean, goodness, thank God, we're now taking 1-year rents. But to really, if we were taking 1 month rent, all right, if that was commonplace, that would not be an enabler. I say those two factors, for instance, the way the real estate market is structured, is partly what has enabled co-working, because co-working spaces can then rent these larger spaces. Call it up.
Oh, but even at the 1-year rent, you don't earn 1-year revenue ahead.
You don't get, you don't earn 1-year revenue ahead, but then by the time you throw in all your other ingredients, hopefully you can charge rents to your co-workers.
The key word there is hope, but hope is not a strategy. So really I'm putting on this one because we know that every single person that runs the platform, this is one thing that everybody just said. So when I was told I was sitting on this platform, I was like, that's it. He's going to talk about it.
I mean, I say that because just imagine that in Nigeria and in Lagos, we begin to charge 1 month's rent. Not everybody will be interested in sitting in a co-working space anymore. So that's the flip side to the coin. All right. There are several things in Nigeria. You can't get 1 year's rent. You would have to pay 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years in advance. All right. So in those kind of spaces, the need for co-working spaces then arises. But be that as it may, another side to look at it is co-working companies, have the and raise significant levels of funding. Your business model can one of not that is not necessarily transactional, but looking more at your on your investment. At that point in time, when you start looking at it that way, it then begins to make more sense.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Taro. Alright, okay.
Very quickly, there are multiple layers of challenges in Nigeria as far as
Go back. I think IMAX is back. Are we back? Let's put our hands together for IMAX that is back. Maybe finally we're about to start experiencing what we really came here to experience. But anyway, so we went very quickly. Very quickly, there are challenges, there are mostly challenges around Nigeria, particularly infrastructure, power, connectivity, all these different challenges, and even services. If you do what you do in Nigeria currently and you take it outside of Nigeria and put it somewhere else in the world, I'm sure you know in terms of your competitive analysis around your cost, you see how the differential. How have you managed to do what you do and be able to, you have 2 locations. Business is booming. So there is something that you've done that is working that other people can personally learn from in the industry. But I think more importantly, in terms of actually taking on the infrastructure challenge, what are your experiences around that area since 2013?
Infrastructure. So it's.
Can you please give me a microphone?
I think as a business owner, everybody faces the same challenges in Nigeria. You said it's power, rents, connectivity. It's I suppose just in Nigeria, and you just put your head down and deal with it. So you look for your options. So what I've learned is never settle for the first option that comes or the second. There are always better and better options, and we've made so many mistakes over the years. I think probably it's just within the last 1 year or so that things are sort of getting into a nice flow. But really it's about just exploring all your options. So if you're thinking about rent, look at whether you can partner with the landlord. If you're thinking about power, if you're thinking about power, obviously there isn't much you can do. You can't partner with NEPA.
Well, maybe you can. Maybe that's what we need to talk about.
I mean that's something in the future. I suppose if we could all come together and
Okay, and I like that too much. Sorry, I'm breaking because we're getting somewhere here, guys. Do you think we're going somewhere? Because I think maybe one of our challenges is because everybody is busy building their own thing. And maybe we are stronger when we are together. I think there needs to be some kind of I don't like the word association because I think everybody is struggling with, but maybe some kind of alliance that makes cabal. Okay, so all right. So you took the word right out of my mouth. Maybe because look, some people that might be sitting there, maybe you're not from Nigeria, you possibly this person might not be as relevant because you're thinking, what are these guys talking about? But because you know how much you spend on diesel, and you know that every single day you're just burning money without regard, literally. Maybe there's something we can do to partner with PHCN. Or today is smiling. So do you want to say something about that? And then I'll come to you. So it's funny. Okay, you don't think it's possible? And we don't have to PCN. Could there be service providers that could become potential enablers for entrepreneurs that are sitting here and co-working operators and owners that will make your job when you're working up easier?
Well, the way I see it is, the biggest blocker to having really good co-working spaces are just the landlords, right? Because in essence, you don't want to go and buy and build the property yourself. So you want a landlord that is very entrepreneur friendly. He knows, he gets what you want to do. And we were lucky with SitSpace that we had Pave Investments as one of the co-investors to SitSpace.
Right.
And they also own the building we're in now, which is the Palarius building in Parkview. So the idea was, we could take the top floor and use that for co-working and take the subsequent floors for co-living. So you don't really have to travel 2 hours to work. You can live where you work, and you can also, it's easier for you and it's easier for you to build the future, so to speak. So the idea is, I sincerely believe that landlords are the biggest stumbling block. 2 years rent, I'm dealt with one in Yaba trying to set up a co-living there along, I've forgotten the name now, but it was such a problem setting up that he didn't want to budge. He did not want to budge.
Wow.
But in terms of other, utilities like your diesel, I don't think we have a way out yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We're stuck on power. Landlords, if you're here, you heard it not from the mouth of just one person, but at least a couple of people. Help us build this industry. So if you own a property and you have someone that is using it, it's not when we see that there is traffic. That's when we say rent is not double, or I want to use my building. And what you really want to use it for is also co-working. Because you've not seen that it looks as if there's something in this space that Now I think we set the tone for this platform. We'll come back to talk about a new concept that Tony just mentioned, co-living. So co-living, co-working, what other course could we possibly have going forward? I will talk about the different trends that could emerge out of this. But let's hear from one or two people from the audience. Anybody that wants to ask something, people that were itching to go during the lunch break. Anyone? Yes. Okay, let's take you from here, and then we'll go to the lady over there and the gentleman at the back there. I hope there's a microphone that can get to you. If not, please try and project so that we can hear you. Good afternoon.
negatively, but in a way, affect the way business is done. And that is why I'm posing that the challenge, and also like the question that, is there any way we are beginning to sit down and see if we can start influencing policies? Like for instance, look at this landlord rent and this landlord issue. The truth is, if there are policies that, probably not like mandating them to do it, but something that can also encourage that, probably if you can lease out your property for something like this, we can reduce the land use charge or something like that.
So influencing policy, excellent. Thank you for that. So we'll go quickly to the lady in right over there. We need to go up. Let's have her. While we're going to take that question, okay, I think she's already there. Quickly.
Okay, thank you. This might be culture.
Is your name? What you
Sorry,
do?
yes, my name is Aramide Abe. I'm the founder of Niger Startups. My question is to, I guess, Malupe and maybe Olao Tom. It might be a cultural/design type question. In recent times, what we've been doing at Niger Startups is really studying the ecosystem of the West, because we know that, in Nigeria, we're going to start graduating there. So in terms of co-working spaces, it's going to be the same. And in the West, what I've found is co-working spaces are getting very busy, and almost like you can't really concentrate when you go there. So my question would then be that, with that in mind, I don't know if that's the case with Euro spaces now, hopefully not, but how are you intending to mitigate those kinds of things?
Okay, excellent. Just over there, we'll take the third one. Just move across, you can see his hand there.
Good afternoon. My name is Shegun Adekule. I'm a student. I'm actually carrying out a MSc research on co-working in Lagos State. And I've discovered huge potential in co-working. Because if you look at the history of co-working, the founder of co-working started to have a community, and there are a lot of research that have been done how co-working can bring about collaboration like multi-coordination, how co-working can solve them in problems.
So your question is?
Yes. So I just want to appeal to the audience here. The questionnaire is out, which I believe that by the time I finish this research,
Alright, so to help fill your questionnaire,
to enable, because you will get more information.
Alright, so we hear you loud and clear. So we're doing an MSc. Please, if you receive this questionnaire, could you please complete the questionnaire ASAP? Are we in agreement? Excellent. What is strategic place you go to come and ask the question? Alright, you got it in. Let's really take those three. Policy. Let's talk about policy. Is there anything we can do? I think maybe Tyler. And we then look at this this space being congested and all of that. Are there things we can do to ensure that the experience remains as it should be, as opposed to people like in concentration when they go into the space. And then the third one is, not a question that we have already. So in terms of government policy, how can we influence?
I think absolutely it's a brilliant idea when you talk about pop association about what I think one big government should be doing that shaping policy, because at the end of the day, when you think about what as co-working spaces, it has a social bent to it. When government talks about enabling business, that is what co-working spaces essentially do. So I think we should begin to consider, sitting down, rubbing minds on how we can potentially shape policy along the lines of, for instance, connectivity. That's something that's a lower hanging fruit I think we can win on. Speak to internet providers and give us better rates for internet and bandwidth and stuff like that. I think we can also get it. I don't think it's impossible to work with PHN. I know they have different tariffs. I know they have different tariffs for government buildings,
for private properties, for estates.
So we can win there. Should we write a strong-worded letter? Should we write a letter or get it backed up by somebody? We will get better rates for our buildings. That's a very, very important win. That's a big win. We can also get connected in terms of power to. There are some power lines that are more constant than others. Yes. There's some
at the end of this, it's yet to the end. So before you just go and listen.
When you're housing businesses that are creating employment, creating social good, you should have access to power.
Absolutely.
All right? But when it comes to landlords, I want to be a landlord too. So I'm not going to exactly say a landlord should not collect his 1 year rents or thereabout. There are fair rents, there are rents that are not fair. If we can create legislation around those, that's fine. But definitely we should come together and think of how to shape policy, and it's not left to just people on the panel. It's left to even the man doing the MSc.
Excellent. And one of the outputs of this conference is Nigeria's first co-working report that will take all of the things that we've spoken about and then put it in a report and then some recommendations. That recommendations will then get the practitioners in this space and the people I like to call enthusiasts, people that are exploring, like some of the people in this room, to adopt it, and we'll present it to people that we know will listen, to begin to push the agenda of connectivity and power, particularly those two, because I think those are the two really critical things that will enable us to scale fast, to do more, and to impact. So to get back to you, to add this question around the environment and ensuring that it remains a productive environment, not just this space that every time Georgie Canary will come in and just occupy and make noise and not do business, as it were.
So around this question, I think it's more about design. It's a design question. It's designing the space to, so I suppose, facilitate different kinds of work. So there are some people who need to work and have conversations and talk to people and draw on the whiteboard and have a space for that, have quiet spaces, have a forum. So again, it's now real estate. Do you have the space to do all that? So I think if we can sort out our infrastructure issues, then it makes it easier to be able to design spaces that people can use and not just throw a bunch of desks in a room and say it's a co-working space. So that's really where it is. It's about really studying how people work. So it's not something that you go into blindly without really thinking about people. Right. And having the resources to make it happen. And if the only way you can do it is by having a small space and limiting the number of people you can have, then do the numbers and see how that's going to work and go forward.
So she thinks that is a design thing. I think if I come to you later, Tony has something to say to what you just said.
Just to back up, I think it's a design thing. So and maybe pricing. So with seat space, we have like 2 floors. When you get into the seat space in the corridor, what you see is the shared desk area, so you can come in anytime and take a sit. And that place is really rowdy. I won't say it's really rowdy, but it's a lot of noise. People just get to talk a lot. But when you go upstairs, just a floor above, it's very quiet. And we try to put a premium on that privacy and on that privacy you get. So for us, we price it just maybe about 20%. A bit more, so that way we tend to separate people who are more serious from people who just want to for people who just want to work and want to go on YouTube all day.
How do you tell the people that are more serious? Do they write this on their head? So as soon as I come into your space, I'm on serious, okay, go there. Alright, thank you for that. I think you're right. So what do you think? What's your experience around this?
Okay, so on the point of what they said, there's a very strong, can you hear me? Yeah. There's a very strong design elements involved. Obviously you have to design your space in such a way that it accommodates all the different, working style. Some people, they're serious, they're very loud. Some people, more vocal or more expressive in the way they work. That's just the way they are. You have to be able to accommodate them as well. But because we have a small space, we can take about 25 people, fully seated. For me, it's more of a community management, task. We have to set the ground rules, and we have to be very aware of how, the members are at all times. So, which is why we have a great community manager. She's actually here, Sam, way behind this. So she's actually very, very focused on how people are working. She's watching and getting feedback all the time. So if people are particularly loud, she'll go to them and have a word with them. Do you mind putting your voice down? So beyond the design, I think there's an interaction, and like I say sometimes that we're in the hospitality business, you know, because we're constantly taking care of people's needs, requirements. So you have to be very aware of how, you know, they want to work, and you have to be very mindful of the different styles. And
excellent. I mean, I agree with you. I think that in terms of, I think it's a design issue. We have 2 locations in Lagos, and we find that the first location average I think about 30-40 people on a day. In the second location, we could have close to about 200 to 300 people on a given day, and heavy traffic, and then we also had a very heavy operation, operationally driven company that was in the building. I mean, the brand that you know, so you could have 300 people from them alone entering in and out. So it's heavy traffic. And it's hard to take one design to ensure that you put them in a separate area where the noise is sort of shut away from people who are working somewhere. But even like that, we see that people say, they're making noise downstairs, but even with that, then a great team of people who are constantly going around, ensuring that the people are not doing what they're not supposed to do, and not trespassing and making noise and playing music and all of that. So you're right, yes, and everybody is. I think 2 things we hear is that great community managers, great team. Some of our guys are here and they're outside working, and they are the ones that really ensure that it is done in a very, very decent way, and also the design to be sure that you keep the place separate for the quote noisy neighbors, as it were. The final thing for me before we'll take one last one from everyone here. But I wanted to quickly ask you, what is the role of service providers? We're seeing a new trend where especially banks globally are now leveraging on co-working. So HSBC, Santander, PNB Paribas, Barclays Bank, Goldman Sachs now all have access to co-working spaces, having a desk for 20, 30 entrepreneurs that they either have relationships with the support, so that for me is a new trend that banks could be doing that. I mean, for this we have a bank that is interested in what we do, Fidelity Bank, who do excellent work in SME space, and they feel that we could plug in what we're doing into your space, where we could expand with you as you expand, that sort of thing. Do you see a future in that area, especially in Nigeria, particularly for service providers, from financial services to legal services, HR services, all of these different ancillary services? I will start with you today, or could you currently have that, and we'll say something on that, and then we'll come back to that and type.
Right. So I think it's really interesting. When you look back at what happened with Nestle and the Nespresso machine, it was just a collaboration with universities and other hubs. They were able to make that machine. So I guess in essence, they either feel they need to be in this space to be in front of innovation. So it's something we're seeing a lot of. We've been talking to a lot of banks as well, and a lot of them want to do this, I would say, intrapreneur. So basically building and launching and piloting new products. A lot of the service providers like banks, they're too big. Their processes, the bureaucracy is a lot more than as a startup. So they would prefer to partner with a hub and get like 2-3 talents, growth hackers, software developers to work on a particular product, quickly launch it and test it, see whether it's a really good product or not. So a lot of the time, we've seen it happen a lot in our hub as well. So we get a lot of them coming in and trying to build a particular product and launching. So I think in the nearest future, a lot of these banks will start coming into all of these hubs and doing similar things.
Excellent. What's your thought on particularly financial services companies and service providers leveraging on co-working spaces?
Okay, so I don't have too much to say about the financial providers, but other smaller service companies, so accountants and lawyers and firms like that have already started, working with co-working spaces. So we get, proposals where they want to partner with us to offer services to our members at, discounted rates. And it's just tough to build because we as co-working space operators already have access to small businesses who need this help. At this point when you're starting a business, you probably don't have, a legal person on your team or an accountant on your team already. So it's easy to just have these service providers work with you, offer advisory services, offer their own, outsourced services to you as a business using a co-working space. So already it's happening. It's now a matter of scaling it, and for, I suppose, larger companies like Vinia, where the banks know and it's easy for them to partner with. But for those of us that are small,
There's nothing like that.
no, really, for those of us that are small, it's now getting that attention. So if we have more people willing to partner, and again, it comes back to this, let's all collaborate and be one giant co-working cabal, and see how we can partner with all the people we need to provide better services for ourselves and the people that are using our spaces.
Fantastic. Now, what she just said, when you hear CWC, it does not only mean co-working conference, it also means co-working cabal. So, as crafted by Mudupe and Lauto from this platform, so just hear it from there. I think they've answered the question excellently well, but I'll take two last questions from the audience, and I'll leave that to Taro and allow them to answer before we wrap up this panel.
I'd just like to say something about that. So I think large corporates in Nigeria, financial institutions inclusive, they still don't quite get it just yet. I'm sure many of these banks I'm talking to just want to come into your space and open bank accounts for your co-workers. What Barclays, what HSBC and all the companies are outside of Nigeria are doing, trying to get in the face of innovation. They're trying to partake in innovation, get the new banking technologies, and they will then onboard in their own organizations. That's what they are doing. And that's what corporates in Nigeria need to be doing. There are newer ways, better ways of getting stuff.
The corporates in Nigeria are actually competing.
They're actually competing. So I think there's still a lot of room to grow there. I think there's still a lot of room.
Okay. I think, and this is not to say this time next year, meaning that we will be here this time next year for another. Maybe then we'll bring all of these different corporates from banks to then we have a panel and say, do you really get it? Or is this about account opening? Or do you understand what this is about? So to your point, we will take it as a feedback and hope that they can explain whether they do or not. So the lady there will take that question, and I've got so many hands, and we'll have a lot of questions from Twitter. I don't know how we're going, and we're out of time for this panel. Please, could you, in less than 1 minute, and then we'll come to the front here, and his hand has been off for a while, and then we'll take him. Very quickly.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chama Ito. I'm an alumni of Tony Liming Foundation and also a CEO of Zozi Signatures and Zozi Travels. My question, I have two questions in between each other. The first one is this co-working thing I've been hearing all morning. Is it just for corporate people? What I mean is tech. You work on IT or the rest of it, or is it for everybody? Why I'm asking that question is, as 70% of entrepreneurs are not all tech people. They are either fashion designers, makeup artists, and the rest of it. Do they have that opportunity to have a closed space to work? Because they also face the same problem of rent and the rest of it.
Okay.
And the other question that same line with it is, if it's not just for the corporate people, if it's for everybody, how do they get to that? And again,
Okay, alright, so I think I get it. The first one is that, this co-working, so let's pass the microphone to, thank you so much, let's appreciate that for that question. And she's right, because a lot of times when people hear co-working, they hear innovation, technology, all of these different things that we talk about. It's like, what about an agri-business? does that mean you can't operate from co-working space or, I will come back to that. And then the second thing is that if everybody can operate from there, what are you doing to ensure that everybody engages? So, question in front here, and then unfortunately, you can write your questions down. If I'm not able to take it and we'll pass it to the MC, you would find a way to take it before the end of the program.
My name is Tony Makaiba. I run Masterpoint Co-working Space. Here's my question. The other question to Modipe in particular. Running a co-working space basically is an experience. If you still co-working, it's more like an SME product. So people come into my space, they can't really pay. But you can see that they have the drive, the attention they're doing, and I'm actually there. How are you coping? Are you making money yet? It's like, because that's the question, because I started running mine, and the numbers are not, I don't know. But on paper, before we started, I was making money. Yeah, so and it's co-working is about people. Yeah. It's not, if you do service office wages and the lights, maybe they're just looking for multinationals to collect money from. But if you're only co-working space, you're going to have to interact with people, and you want to help. So you're like, okay, how do you balance the numbers? Okay, you have people and all that. So how did you go about that?
Thank you very much. Good question. So let's take the first one, and I will direct the first one to you. You want to answer that? Okay. You want to answer? Okay, so you don't want to answer the numbers. Okay, help us. Is this really this thing? You guys speaking of numbers. You really making money. If you're making money, how are you doing it? That's what. Now to my question, co-working spaces. This is only for tech entrepreneurs and for training entrepreneurs, not for everybody else. So.
Alright, so it's totally for everybody, but the use case is if you can do your job on sitting in front of your computer, I think you can definitely work at a co-working space. We've had a modeling agency use the space before, and what they did was they bring in 20 models for casting. Believe me, it was a good day at the office then. So they were calling 20 models, but what we found out was it wasn't really good for other community members. The eye hairs were making noise. They were using the toilets a lot, so we decided that things that constitute noise, we wouldn't take. So if your business is strictly just you and your computer and you're working, that's totally fine.
Okay, excellent. I hope that answers your question, but I'm sure we'll have one. We're going to answer that same question.
Yeah. So about spaces you mentioned fashion, that you do fashion. There's actually someone in this room. I hope she's still here.
Yeah, she's there.
Yeah. So she runs a co-working space for fashion entrepreneurs. So they have sewing machines and tables and cutting tables, and they have mannequins and stuff that you can use. So I think that's a very specific use case for that. And I think even going forward, what we should look at is having focused co-working spaces. So like Seed Space does fintech. That's what they do. You can do something else on your computer and work there, but it's a space for fintech entrepreneurs. So if we have a space for agribusiness entrepreneurs, if you have a space for artists, graphic designers, and people that do visual arts, so I think that's probably where it's going now. But right now it's probably not there yet because not even a lot of people know enough about co-working for there to be a serious business case for that. But I think as it grows, as there's more interest and as more people understand the benefits of sharing space and sharing resources, then there's obviously an opportunity to create focused, targeted spaces.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I think on that note, okay, to your question, right? Okay, so to the numbers. You see, why does it happen every single time on the panel? When you're about to wrap up is when it's getting juicy, it is now actually getting, but we really have to, but let's look at our numbers adding up.
We don't take that from, okay. Sorry, hello? Alright, good. So Seed Space is profitable on a monthly basis. We don't typically look at it from just co-working, coming to work. We have other, business segments as well, like events. We do have events and space. We have food and beverage, so we have a kitchen where you can order food. So all of this enables, like the revenues to climb up and we can sort of pay for other things. So if you're sort of focusing on, the unit economics might not add up, but you need to sort of add other things to it to make it, come up a bit.
All right, fantastic. So there are other things that we can do that will make sure that the numbers make sense. A question from Twitter that says something about there's a new trend that I've heard here today is co-living. I would love for Tunde to please talk briefly about co-living. I think this person is looking at coming into that space. So if for just 30 seconds, what is co-living? How does it work? How is it different from co-working?
Co-living, the idea behind co-living is to solve the same problem which you have with landlords where they ask you for a rent up front. You're not sure whether, you're going to stay at a particular place for long. You have to buy a lot of the furniture, the ACs and fridge. So the idea is, you come to this apartment and you can just walk in, walk out. And there's pots, there's AC for you. Everything is there for you, like Airbnb, like a hotel. For 30 days, and you get to pay, 50,000 naira per month. So, a lot of people are doing it. Fiverr is sort of doing something similar, where, you can get to pay per month on a monthly basis. And it's almost the same as that, but, we have different services as well. You have the shared room where you share with someone, or you have a private room where you want to be alone by yourself. So it's the same idea, but it's just, people struggle to get really good apartments. Like he said about people build apartments for like 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, not necessarily considering someone who's just starting out in a career on a 120 salary that can't afford all of those things that the landlords are asking for. So the idea is, you can come in and you can just, pay small.
Okay, small. Okay.
Just like we also have some co-living space.
You have co-living
space, but it's strictly for the companies on our acceleration program.
Right. Okay.
So the acceleration program, it lasts for about 3-4 months, and another one will be opening up in September.
Okay.
We're kind of looking to be accelerated.
To hear more about accelerators and investments and raising funds through co-working platforms, that's the next panel that is coming in soon of how do you actually leverage on this platform to raise funds. Some of them have internal ones, but they have access to investors. They, you can reach people. They know investors are talking to them. So last words I'll go from Modupe down here. If you want people in this room, different stakeholders, entrepreneurs, investors, service providers, financial institutions, enthusiasts, explorers, if you want people to remember something about this panel and particularly about what you do, what would it be? You think about it. It sounds like a jam question again. Yeah. Hearing it again. So okay, let's go. Go back to the okay, that's all. Let me go. Go.
Okay, so I'm just going to piggyback off his question. Being profitable. So a co-working space, you absolutely need to be profitable month on month. All right. I think what you might be operating in your own case is more like a hub, and a hub is kind of like gathering like very low entry startup companies that just need space. They really can't pay for the space, so you need to be able to classify what exactly is it a hub that you're running, a business hub, or
in the social impact, social impact hub,
or you're a co-working space. So in co-working space, you need to calculate your first data entry is your rent. How much did you pay for your rent? The first data is how much did you pay for your rent? How much is your furniture? How much are you spending on diesel and infrastructure per month? When you aggregate all of that, you divide by 12, you need to make that much on the space that you rent, per annum. You have to add the staff cost and all that. So that is kind of like how a co-working space operates. It's a profitable venture in and out. You have to be profitable month on month.
So make sure the numbers.
More the social element to it. Those gathering.
It depends on which hub. It does. But the point is that make sure you're profitable, because at the end of the day you're running a business. So you're not running a social enterprise. You want to make profits. You don't want to.
So can I just add that? Because it sounds more like you're running a social impact hub. That you're more focused on actually I mean, all hubs should be focused on assisting and adding value to the entrepreneurs, but you sound like you're more interested in the social impact and the value of or what you're doing to the entrepreneurs. There are other ways of doing this. You don't actually have to be a for-profit. You can actually, look for grants. There are grants that actually are focused on, platforms that enable, young businesses and entrepreneurs to grow.
Yeah.
So you should even talk to Lagos State government. Let's CTF, which I'm sure they will be. You should listen to the next.
Yeah, so a case of study, Co-Creation Hub, grants from Omidia Foundation, grants from Google, so you can afford to run. It was I heard something about, they're not paying and all of that. You cannot not pay. Because, as long as you're going to pay bills at the end of the month, overheads from salaries to diesel, to internet, all of that is all part of what you're running. So you have to be, the numbers have to add up. And it's not really what you call it, it is what you do with it. So you could have a hub that is highly profitable and have a co-working space that is purely social. So it depends on what you do with it's the business model that you are building that is very important. I think in wrapping all of this up, if the things that jumped out at me the most, and I don't know about you, I hear a lot about collaboration, I hear a lot about community building, I hear a lot about partnership, and maybe above all, I hear one key word, cabal. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this panel. Please help me appreciate our panelists and wonderful people that are really fantastic from here. Today, Sister Olaotan, Premium One, Tayo Odusi, many has but on this platform, Venture Spark, and of course, Mudupe, wonderful job at Capitol Square. Let's again one more time, please put your hands together for them. And please continue to share the conversation as we move on to the other panels. You see how we were getting funded, and then the power of collaboration with Chuba and Dubola, and then the number of, I think we have some things to now begin to show you and talk to you about through videos that we'll be trying to get up. So let's get our questions written. If we're not able to answer them and find a way to pass them to the MC, and at some point maybe we'll be able to take them before we go. Once again, thank you for joining us on this panel.
Thank you very much, panelists. I'm sure it was quite an enlightening session. I would like to announce once again that IMAX is back. And of course, free Wi-Fi is also here. Alright, so please, you can bring out your phone at this point. Go to your Wi-Fi settings and look for freewifi.ng hotspot. freewifi.ng hotspot. It has absolutely no password, and I've been told to communicate to you that you can download as much as you like. Yeah, I was excited about that. Alright, and if you do have any difficulty, please visit wifi.com.ng. And of course, you're going to be required to fill in just a few details, and then you can access the internet. Alright, so while you're at it, the hashtag is CoworkingNG. Right? CoworkingNG. So please tweet, please let those Instagram pictures go up and let people know what they're missing over here. Alright, because IMAX is back, we're about to screen one of the videos. So allow me to introduce you to this lady who will be showing up on the screen shortly. I did warn you earlier on that we'll be leveraging a lot of technology. So this lady will be sharing on what's happening globally in co-working and the potential implications for all of us. She's a digital nomad who's passionate about collaboration. She loves tech, sunshine, inappropriate banter, and adventure. She's the founder of Coworker.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Leanne Beasley. IMAX.
challenges. Shortage of jobs, lower wages, rising costs, crushing student and business landscape is changing faster than most employees can adapt. Companies that survive the decades are either struggling to pay out business even or shorting out more companies or working to street events, helping building restaurants, or just people to change out. So much about the startup ecosystem in Nigeria over the past 2 years. So it really is a very exciting time, not only for the startup scene and the tech world, but for the co-working industry in Lagos as well. So before I talk about the global trends in the co-working industry, let me introduce myself. So my name is Leon Beasley. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Coworking.com. We are the world's largest global platform for finding and connecting with co-working spaces around the world in 115 countries. And the reason I started co-working was really to solve my own problem. So I've been living in Southeast Asia for about 7 years as a global digital nomad. So I was an entrepreneur, also a freelancer, working with clients around the world. And back when I first started, there really weren't that many co-working spaces. So it was quite easy to know where to work. But then, about 2 years ago, I moved to Hong Kong, and there were so many co-working spaces. And when I first got there, I wasted about 3 days trying to figure out which co-working space to work on. I was looking for one that had the international community, the startup scene, the tech code, community events, 24-hour member access, just really the usual stuff that I would normally look for and find. But there was so many to go through on Google, I couldn't figure out where to go. And then eventually my friend Celeste recommended one to me. It was called Garage Society, and it was perfect. Exactly what I was looking for. But it really bugged me that I hadn't found it online, and if she hadn't told me about it, I didn't really would have gone there. And so I actually had no plans of starting a co-working platform, but it just bothered me so much that there wasn't something out there already. You know, hotels and restaurants, you have things like TripAdvisor, Agoda, Yelp, Expedia, so many different things. But the co-working was gone. And so eventually it just spoke to me that it was like, you know what, I'm going to solve this, I'm going to build it. So I teamed up with my now co-founder Sandbox. We launched almost 2 years ago now. We connect tens of thousands of people every month with co-working spaces around the world. We do collaborations with journalists from Forbes.com to raise awareness of all the great co-working spaces around the world. And there's lots of big things happening at the moment. So, since launching co-working, I've spent time at hundreds of co-working spaces around the world to figure out what's working, what's not, what people are doing, how communities built, what makes spaces different. And so that's some stuff I'm going to be sharing today along with data. So, let's jump right in. And let's get this party started. We're going to be sharing the global trends in co-working, with the industry developments in the last couple of years. Maybe I think you under the hood of our Google Analytics to check out the
Nigeria and Africa data from coworking.com, and then share with you some ideas from coworking spaces around the world. So if you are in the industry, you're running or setting up your own space in Nigeria or anywhere else, it might give you some ideas on things you can incorporate in your own space. So first of all, you are completely pioneering an entirely new industry. It is so exciting seeing this movement grow. There's so much scope for potential, so much room for growth. The statistics are crazy. There's very few industries that you can say are like this, and we're really helping so many people to grow their potential by giving them that place and space and community to thrive. So, yes, I want to say a big high five to you all for being part of this movement and making the change that is so desperately needed in the way that the world works. As you can see in this chart here, the number of co-working spaces is increasing every year, and it's really showing no signs of slowing down at all. If you look at this curve here, we're still ahead of the average, we're moving forward so fast. There is so much scope. In fact, supply is really struggling to keep up with demand because demand is so high. And like that before, 41% growth of people using co-working spaces over the past year really is growing very fast. So what's actually driving this demand? Well, let's start with the growth in the tiny sector. So this is technology, advertising, marketing, and information. And 40% of that is being driven by the technology side. Now, if we add that to the millennial generation, millennials are driving this knowledge economy. So many millennials are learning the skills that they need to be able to work remotely. So those two things combined are really pushing the number of freelancers and independent workers that are able to work from anywhere, not needing a traditional office space. Next up is the corporate bottom line. So many companies now are starting to use co-working spaces. They're shunning the old, long-term office styles and moving into co-working spaces. Not only that, but also allowing their employees to work remotely, and those employees then go on to use co-working spaces. This is fascinating here. American Express reported annual savings of $10 to $15 million because of their remote work options. I mean, that's a massive incentive for corporates to get involved with co-working. And then next up, we've got surveillance demand. So all the workers and parents of young children are starting to stay in the workforce. Because they don't want long commutes, they need more flexibility than a typical office environment job would provide. So more and more companies are allowing them to work remotely, and more people are taking on, it's the gig economy, they're taking on projects that allow them to work from anywhere and have that flexibility. So we've got three types of people that are pushing this demand. We've got freelancers, we've got remote employees. So this is often a company that will allow their employees to work from anywhere, and if those employees ask, they will often pay for their co-working space membership. I know about companies themselves that are actually placing teams in co-working spaces. huge growth in this sector too. I mean, so many companies are starting to use co-working spaces now with their teams. You've got Uber, Heineken, and Microsoft, so many of them. It's really quite fascinating. So next time we're going to talk about some industry trends. I'm going to go over these 5 elements here. Let's jump on in. First, real estate. So what I've noticed a lot with co-working spaces, especially in the US, is that they're shifting away from the traditional lease model. So rather than the co-working spaces having a lease with the landlord, they're actually going into business with their landlord. They're partnering up with the property developer or the property owner, and they're actually doing partnerships where they do a revenue split rather than having a traditional lease. An example of this is a new space opening up in Dallas called Bridgework. It's this massive warehouse that was out recently in Texas that's being renovated. It's absolutely huge. And that's being operated by a partnership between the operator and the building owner. Next trend, co-working spaces are opening up in hotel lobbies. So Aloft Hotel in Brussels, Belgium, have opened up a co-working space in their lobby that they charge for. Not only hotels, but disused restaurants. So there's a company called Spacious in the US that is partnering with restaurants and doing kind of like pop-up co-working during the day when the restaurant's not being used. And even in retail stores, so Staples, which is a big stationery store in the US, they now have a co-working space inside their retail store called Work Bar. So definitely a trend here for co-working spaces in repurposed space. Now, when we look at financing methods for expansion models, I think what is extremely exciting is what I've got listed as the last one here, the management model. So we know about the usual ones that we work with doing, lots of funding, they renovate the building, they have a long lease, delayed rent. You've got things like franchises with Serendipity Labs in the USA, that was worth noting that Impact have tried that a few years ago, didn't work, so let's see what happens there. But then this management model, this is fascinating. So Office, which is a big co-working space chain in India, they just raised $20 million US based on this model. WeWork have adopted this model as they move into India as well. So traditionally, like I said, they always do the long lease, they take on renovations themselves, but they've actually brought in a third party, a real estate group in India, that will be financing the renovations and WeWork is paid a management fee. So we're definitely seeing a shift towards this managed assets model to be able to expand very quickly. It's much lower upfront cost and just gets to move faster with less capital. Next one, I'm definitely seeing a trend across the world for co-working spaces on the city level to come together, creating an association or alliance that can then work with the government to get government funding. So back in the day when co-working spaces were still pretty new, governments were throwing money at them because they knew it was a way to foster entrepreneurship, creativity, innovation in their cities. But now more and more co-working spaces are springing up. Government funding is starting to dry up. Now, the governments in many places are still willing to put money into initiatives, but they don't want to be dealing with all these different co-working space owners. They don't have to figure out, okay, which ones do I have, who do I allocate to, what's going on. And this is why these associations are working really well. For example, with Co-working South Australia Association, definitely check them out as a model of what can be done. Okay, so the fun stuff here. I'm going to take you under the hood of our Google Analytics to see what's going on in Nigeria and Africa. So here's the top 10 most popular countries in terms of searches on co-worker in Africa. You can see Nigeria is number 5. It's actually the top one in West Africa. But it's not just people within Nigeria that are looking for co-working spaces in Nigeria. We've actually got people located all over the world that are looking for co-working space in Nigeria. Here's the city level, and as you can see, they're really dispersed all over the world, which is pretty exciting. In most of these situations, they are expanding their companies, so they'll be creating a regional office in Nigeria, or they'll be sending some employees over to start a new department. That's generally why people from around the world will be looking in a different country for a co-working space. Here's the breakdown for within Nigeria itself. So as you can see, Lagos is still the most popular one. So it's people within Lagos that are searching the most. Then we've got Abuja as the second most popular, and then the other ones are very, very minuscule. So as you can see, demand is definitely still the highest in Lagos. And here's a fun little snippet of information here. You can see these are the domains of some of the companies that have been using coworker.com to look for space. So we've got foreign companies looking for space in Nigeria, local companies looking for space in Nigeria, and then also local companies in Nigeria that are looking for space outside Nigeria. So it's just interesting seeing what kind of companies are looking for space both locally and around the world. Alright, as the last section of the presentation, let's go through a few ideas and trends from co-working spaces around the world. First up, co-living accommodation. This is huge with digital nomads. They are traveling and they want to have everything in one place. They want to have their accommodation, they want to have their workplace, their community, all under one roof. Right now it's really popular with digital nomads, but if co-living takes off as an independent movement with young professionals, we're definitely going to see a trend towards co-living, not just with digital nomads, but also young professionals too. So I'm allergic to animals, so it never even occurred to me that bring your dog to work or bring your cat to work would be a thing, but there are so many co-working spaces around the world right now that are pet friendly. A hybrid role of receptionist meets barista. So we're seeing the trend of co-working spaces starting to, rather than relying on the free coffee, actually opening up a coffee shop inside the co-working space. And having this hybrid role of receptionist meets barista is perfect at keeping costs down while keeping that kind of welcoming feel. Somebody walks in, they can order a coffee just like a coffee shop, and then we introduce to the co-working space at the same time. Mailboxes. Now, if your co-working space doesn't have virtual offices already, something you want to look into. So virtual offices are when you allow a company to use your co-working space as mailing address and have mailboxes there that you put the mail into. Now, having these mailboxes can actually be a massive revenue generator for you with very little extra work. So, Genius Dan in Dallas is one that does this very well. There's plenty of co-working spaces out there that are using this to generate more revenue. So, something to definitely look into. So rather than just having a full-time person manning the desk, you can actually do collaborations with your members, so they get a discounted membership in return for doing 1 or 2 days a week on the desk. It's a great way to get members feeling involved with your space. It's a great way for you to keep costs down. And also members are kind of the best reflection of your space. If your members are happy, then when new people come in to look around your space, your members can speak from their heart and say why they're working there, which really resonates with potential new members. It gives them the opportunity to actually meet and mingle with the people they'd be co-working with. As more parents of young kids are deciding to stay in the workforce rather than remove themselves from it completely, co-working spaces with childcare are becoming more and more popular. Not always within the co-working space itself. Some co-working spaces have partnerships with local childcare facilities in the area, which just makes it more feasible for your members to work from your space as well as having kids nearby. If your space doesn't have a members wall already, definitely look into doing this. So many co-working spaces around the world do it in different ways, but Coworking to the most common, and just stamp photo your members, pop them on the wall somehow, they can write their name on there, we can write their company. It's a great way for your members to really feel like they're part of the community, see who else is part of the space, the movement, and just really foster that feeling of, yes, we're all here, we're all doing this together, we're all doing great things. So, members wall, pop that on your radar. Alright, keeping it short and sweet, that is it for now. We've run out of time, but thank you for listening, and I'm going to be live now for Q&A if you've got any questions.
Thank you. Okay, so Leanne is actually live, but this was meant to be a Skype session, but technology just wouldn't cooperate with us. So what you will do now is tweet at Leanne Biscuit any questions you may have, hashtag coworkingng, and she will be available to respond. We just spoke with her, and apologies for the audio quality. She wasn't so happy because she was watching, and I think she's still watching. So apologies, Leanne. We had to compress the video, and of course, to fit the screen and lost, went a bit animated. Now, for those of you who are yet to connect, at freewifi.ng hotspot, hashtag is coworkingng. So I know a lot of us have been waiting for this particular session. Getting funded. Getting funding. So we have an interesting mix of people on this panel, from those who are ready to give you money to those who are willing to collect your money. But it's actually it's going to be, I know it's going to be very engaging. So allow me to quickly bring up here a gentleman who is the COO, the Chief Operating Officer from Nexon, and is also the Secretary for Lagos Angel Network, Mr. Shegun Olukoya. A round of applause for him. Please keep clapping till he gets here. You're very welcome, sir. All right, I'd like to also welcome to join Mr. Shegun Olukoya, the General Manager, SME Trade Exports at Fidelity Bank, Mr. Ken Opara. Mr. Ken Opara, a round of applause. Please make him feel welcome. Okay, is here represented by Osaibo Bobo Omorobe. You're very welcome, sir. Okay. Okay. Next up is the CEO and founder of a health tech company. His name is Mr. Femi Kuti. Please make him feel welcome. Keep clapping, please. Keep clapping, please. You're very welcome, sir. Right. Next up is the CEO of Budget, Mr. Sheun Onibinde. Okay. We also have joining us on the panel the CEO of Workday, Mr. Benga Ayeremi. A round of applause for him. You're very welcome, sir. And of course, the man that I'll be handing this microphone to is the Executive Secretary, and he'll be moderating this session. He is the Executive Secretary for Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, and he is Mr. Akin Oyebode. A round of applause for him, please. Very welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, I think that this first conversation is very interesting, and we have a wide array of people out here. So, we're here to discuss how to optimize funding and how to get funding from co-working spaces. And so, I mean, I've seen people who I know have gotten funded out of co-working spaces. I've seen people who lend money to businesses, people who invest in early stage businesses. So, and I'm excited. I think we should get a well-rounded conversation and get some clarity on first, what can we do now, and what should we be thinking of doing? How should we collaborate better in the future? So, you don't want to hear my voice, you want to hear smart people speak, so I'll get right into the questions. And because Shegun is sitting next to me, I'm going to start with him. So Shegun, I think to open this conversation, we've seen, of course, huge growth in workspaces across Nigeria, especially Lagos. Is there anything, and I speak to more of your experience within the Angel Network, is there any structured partnership or program where you deliberately seek discovery through these workspaces, or do you just look out for, and do you rely on phone calls, your address book to find potential university companies?
Thank you. Thank you, Aki. For
I think we find co-working spaces are a strategic partners. We find them very useful in sourcing potential entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who would like to fund. One of the things we see is that anybody who typically goes through a co-working space is probably in a different category or a different level. He's doing something a lot of others are not doing. So we do find that category of the ecosystem quite interesting. We also try to partner with a lot of them. Increasingly, one of the conversations or things we would like to see is some level of specialization. Well, first of all, expanding the focus and also specialization. When I say expanding, not just accommodation, but accommodation and capacity. So I can go into a working space and all you give me is space, but if you're giving me both capacity, either via partnerships or yourself, and also accommodation, we find that very interesting. The other thing about specialization we think will become more important into the future is where you have co-working spaces that take a particular niche and say, look, we will focus on just this. Now, not every co-working space can do that. It requires some level of depth, but we see that will make the ecosystem typically better.
Okay, so because Sean is on his phone, I'll go to him next. So I think my first question at Co-Creation Hub, and at the time I think we were a two-man team, if not maximum two-man team, you know. And so there were these two unruly fellows who were trying to change the world, you know. And back in those days I used to work for a bank, you know, so I was a big fan of the work they're doing. But as you can imagine, now I work for the government, so, you know. But I mean, and from that small business of two people, they've grown into, definitely in my opinion, one of the leading, across sub-Saharan Africa, one of the leading organizations in helping to make governments more transparent. So, I mean, I'd like to get your perspectives on what you think, physically being within Co-Creation Hub. What did you get out of that experience? Was it instrumental in helping you raise money to expand this business? What would you advise someone at an early stage working out of those spaces? How do you advise that they optimize whatever value, especially from a funding perspective?
All right. Thank you, Akin. So, I know you will leave government someday, so we'll still go back to the offhand. So, working in Co-Creation Hub was initially accidental. If I take someone's book title, I was away. They came up to say we want to have a space where we can have startups. And I was also a banker like Aki, and I was looking for something different to do. And, you know, our worlds collide. But something I learned from Co-Creation is the very, very early stage where you know nobody, where you know no one, where you can't even understand or even figure it out. Because a lot of people who want to jump into entrepreneurship are very, very new. They don't understand this things. The network is always very, very important within the co-working space. And now, if I'm going to be much more specific, so first thing you would learn is even your products. Because you can have a fundable product, if I allow me to use that word, a fundable product. Somehow what you have in your head is just an idea and you just garnish it a bit and you can't even just scale. So what you get is within that co-working space, you can get some kind of help, technical resources. Somebody like Kene, Chuka, and people who are really good at tech aids, were really helpful in redefining budget, building our first website and making it be presented. So you get all of that. Now you now come to the phase of funding. So somehow with the early seed startups in Co-Creation Hub, budget was one that was always running out of money very, very fast. You know, and it was always shameful when you find out startups still having money and we were saying that we're done. And it's always up in the early days, and which is something you have to understand. At a point in time, you also have to be a man of your own. It's always something I would say that's my own personal experience. But how did we begin the journey? It was when Indigo Trust giving us £5,000. That was how we started. Then somehow Indigo really came up with this idea, and he said, okay, we're going to give every startup in co-creation $5,000, and that was the second investment. And someone who was a philanthropist, I love your work, he gave us $5,000. And so, but at a point, $5,000 was holy grail. You know, at a point, you can't scale what we are about to do. You know, and that's the point where you can have two conversations. One, the first conversation with the to say, will you give me access to your network so that I can go directly through you and go and expand? Fine, could be one way. Or you just, you know, plot the map in your head and find out who exactly can scale your business. I think that's where I put it to.
Okay, so I mean, since the two former bankers, I mean, I'll go to the current banker next. So, and I think this is the challenge. I mean, and I sit first for full disclosure before I started working for the government. I used to run SME banking for Stanbic IBTC, and I know that we tried, you know, to see, look, what can we do with these spaces? How can we optimize value for the businesses out of those spaces? And I maybe admitted at the time, you know, because I can't sit out here and tell you I couldn't crack that problem. But maybe admitted at the time it was a bit early, you know. So if you're, I mean, today now, you have a good opportunity. There are a lot of workspaces in Lagos, across the country. What would you say, and I don't want to put you on the spot with your bank, but what would you say generally as a banking professional, how do you approach this relationship with workspaces and situate that with how you can manage that as a pathway to funding or providing finance to businesses within those environments?
Thank you very much, Andy. I think for us, it's a welcome development. Welcome in the sense that, I mean, even from an internal perspective, it means that it's possibly going to help with it. I mean, it's possibly going to help efficiency and effectiveness a lot more from the perspective of locating businesses that I want to bank. So it means that if I went to a co-working environment, and particularly if it's possibly sector specific, it means that I can possibly see 10 prospects at a time, or 15 or 20, depending on what the population of that particular environment is. So for me as an SME focused bank, that becomes that ties into my strategy, because it means that, you know, I can catch them in one place. Now on the funding side, what it also does for me is it gives a sense of the fact that I can almost relate with these guys as some sort of cluster. Now, typically from our experience in Fidelity Bank, we've realized that for a lot of the SMEs who would ordinarily not be able to meet, you know, all of your collateral requirements and all that documentation requirements to get funding, when there's some sort of structure that aggregates them together, that aggregation platform sort of now provides a certain sort of identification collateral, or is there identification collateral? No. I mean, you can rely on the fact that you can meet all of those people, they're aggregated in one place. There's possibly now some set of people amongst them you can relate with to say, okay, this guy has been with us here for 1 year, for 2 years. We know that he's in this line, and we can almost vouch to a certain level that this is his capacity beyond what the books are saying, that this is what he's going to be able to do. So for us, what that does is that it further provides a certain level of comfort, and we are then saying, okay, if we can meet all of these guys in this hub where they are co-located, where indeed capacity is being built to the extent that that co-location situation is also further helping them manage costs, it means that I can build a funding program around them, and then ultimately also define what qualification requirements will be, and then the whole access problem will possibly be cutting it down, possibly to some 40% level, 30%, 20%, and ultimately there's a solution.
Okay, so I mean, so I'm not for you to, I'm not to put you on the spot, but I'll sing that question for a few minutes. So in fact, all of these things that you hear, do they resonate? Because, you know, I mean, I think part of what we want to get out of this session is not sort of hypothetical academic theories. It's practically how do we improve this ecosystem. So as a business owner, would you say that your bank, for example, understands you, and now I can ask that question quite confidently, you know. But when you say a bank understands you, you say that you get the sense from the product offerings that you're getting that you're being treated with, relative to the life stage of your business.
Thank you very much, Aki. That's a great question, and it's something that I've been discussing with founders like myself. There was a very interesting article recently.
Sorry, can you guys hear for me?
Okay, sorry, I'll try to speak louder. There was an interesting article written by Jason Njoku, which pretty much summarizes, I think, the feelings of a lot of founders when it comes to relationships with banks. And the honest truth is I don't think banks today really understand the tech industry. And they don't understand how to bank companies in that industry. And it doesn't seem like they're taking the time out to want to, or to even try to understand. And it's funny that nobody is doing that, because you're beginning to get a lot of companies in that space that are getting very heavily funded, they're doing very well, they're doing great business. So I think it's instructive for banks to begin to look at other companies in that space and sort of start spending time understanding their needs and creating products for them.
Okay, so I think that's the reason why the panel I think is very well rounded is that we have different people, and this conversation is about co-working spaces, right? So we can't have the conversation without the people who manage the spaces. So from a work-based perspective, would you say, one, that you found, whether it's equity, debt, whatever it is, have you found the willingness from the finance industry to engage with you to say, first, let's not even talk about the companies that operate out of your environment. First, is your space in itself is a business, right? So would you say that there's enough appreciation of co-working spaces as a business, one? And then on the flip side, have you seen anyone who's willing actively to say, look, let's structure something specific for the entities that operate within this environment, and how do we leverage an environment to make it work for those parties?
Okay, for us as well, I would say basically just like the normal challenges being faced by every other businesses when you have to access finance from banks and all of that, we are not too excluded from that. You go through the same thing, but there's a particular structure we have that kind of give financial institutions a confidence on these people looking at the way their business is structured. They have tendency of remaining there for a while because they see that you are not centered around one business. You know, as it's not good to say this, but that's the way bankers will say this, and I ask the question, so that goes to Jack on, that remains. So they kind of find that comfortable, and they always want to work with us. What can we do with you guys? How can we scale? I still remember India Obama called me like 2 years ago and said, you know, what's wrong with people working in Nigeria? Look at we work. We workers like this, we want to raise this, raise that, this, and all of that. You know, they saw it as, okay, this is a big space that Nigeria is not getting there. Yes, so they see us as a platform where they can invest and they will not lose their money. You understand? And funny enough, NSCTF, you know, we're just like, okay, we want to raise money, let's talk to these guys, let's say to us before we introduce to our team, and then we applied, and they called us. When we came to our Kenya office, a 6-story building, and we were saying, this company, you know, we laid out each of the doors. Well, like 60 companies in one place? You don't need that $5 million. I laughed. I said, we still need an order for guys to do it. Once you have done it before. So we kind of have that kind of structure that financial institutions see as, I'm not speaking for myself now, I'm looking for all my, you know, contemporaries in the business, that we've got a strong structure that makes us to be very strong for investment and without having the fear of losing the funds and the investments.
Okay, so one of the things I'm learning is that even when you're in banking, you can still record that very quickly. That's good to know. But back to the banking conversation, and I think that we're happy to have someone on the equity side, we have you on the debt side. So let's start with the debt side. As of today, as Fidelity Bank, so let's not talk hypothetically. Have you gone to one space and said, this is a specific offering for the companies operating out of this space? I think the answer to the first question is no. Why? Or why not, rather?
Answer is straight. No. No, to the extent that, our focus in Fidelity has also been, all of those spaces where you already have a preponderance of SMEs in clusters. Now, for us, which is why we have followed them, Cowork NG very closely since it came up. So we are very, very interested in following this through and seeing to it that we are able to tap into the advantages that whole co-location brings and ultimately doing something for them. Now my guess is, from my experience, a whole lot of the offers we already have on our stable we fit in, because they are already ordinarily tied around businesses that are located together. But are we already working with anyone? No. Not because we have it doesn't fit into our plan. It's just that we've had our hands full, and this has possibly not featured as prominently as we would have expected. Yeah.
So can I just jump in and add something? It's seeming like this is a focus on banks and banking. But the reason why I want to jump in is because from my experience, so we were incubated in Idea Hub when we first started out. And from my experience, a lot of people who are at hubs are like one-man, two-man entities. People like when Shane started out, when we started out, we're just two of us. And let me put a friend in the banks right now. And I think at that stage, it's difficult for the banks to really understand the rules of that kind of entity. The risk profile is just completely, very different. But the kind of funding that we need at that point in time is more angel funding. And the question really should be how well are co-working spaces providing that network to angel funders and providing that credibility per se. So it's like your RIT CC hub, your RIT IJ hub. This is like anointing. I can give you my money.
So here's the thing, right? So Femi, you're going to pay a fine to me because he's trying to take over my job. So Sheldon, Femi has asked you the question I was going to ask you next. So if you think about yourselves at the Angel Network, LAN is now 2 years, 3 years, 3 years plus. So the kind of investing that you do is better suited to the risk profiles of the businesses you find in one of these workspaces. So to Femi's point, a guy could come take a hot desk, right? 2 weeks later, he's not coming back, right? So there are those risk limitations. But now you are better suited and have a better appreciation of taking early stage risk, right? Which Fidelity Bank might not take because they do lend depositors funds, right? So one is, again, I want to talk about specifics, right? As of today, is there a structured approach? Can you give us a case of where you've used, whether it's Idea, whether it's CC Hub, whether one day, anybody else, right? Where you've actually gone in there and said, this has helped us significantly in de-risking and understanding the potential businesses we want to invest in.
Okay. Thank you for that, Dr. So when we started LAN has evolved over the years. At a point, we took a decision to look only at entrepreneurs who came out of hubs, accelerators, co-working spaces, and all of that. And our view at that point was that those businesses have been de-risked to some extent. And probably for a year or so, all our pitch sessions were focused on entrepreneurs coming out of that system. Our first 2 investments at LAN, came out of that. One I can disclose at some point came out of Idea Hub. The second one also came out of one of the hubs in Yaba. But for that period, we looked primarily at hubs. Because what we have found out, a lot of the entrepreneurs that were coming were just not investment ready. They were investment ready, but just not ready. And that is the role we saw hubs, co-working spaces, and accelerators play helping get them ready, move from investment ready to investment ready. Now, we did that for about a year, and the business model further evolved to a more open platform where both those from hubs and accelerators and also other types of businesses could apply for our quarterly pitch sessions. I think the other thing we like to see the co-working space, operators in the co-working space do, is provide to some extent knowledge and capacity regarding at what stage you are and what kind of funding you should be looking for. At the level of anybody in the hub, truthfully, or his co-working space, I don't believe should be looking for bank funding. He's not going to get it most likely. You know, you need to understand that cycle of friends and family, then angel invest, angel money. And when I say angel, I will describe that as anybody who doesn't know you and who listens to you and says, look, there's something I would like to. So don't think of angel as somebody with big money. The $5,000 you got, you know, that's angel money. You know, in other economies, $50,000 is not angel money. It's a lot more. So I think the co-working spaces have a major role to play in selling that narrative and getting that knowledge, you know, into the minds of those in their portfolio.
So I mean, I think my next question already has asked itself. So Benga, I mean, and I also sit here as potentially, even though I work for the government, potentially capital, a deployer of capital into this space. One of the things that we noticed, and I think when we're building an innovation-driven enterprise framework at the moment and employment trust fund, and one of the first things we did was to just, you know, do a scan of what's available, how many workspaces are available, what happens there, what kind of programs they run, how much capacity do these spaces have, etc. And one of the things that we saw, and this is across board, was that there was a depth of capacity building, structured capacity building out of those workspaces. So I mean, there's a hackathon here, there's a networking event there, you know, but there was one there today, there's nothing happening in the next 4 months. So you've heard from a founder, you've heard from an angel. What do you think, I mean, first, why do you think that it doesn't seem to be, the workspaces are growing much faster than the capabilities to help the businesses accelerate? When do you think that's happening, and how do you think we can catch up fairly quickly? Because it does sound from what I hear that it makes it, what distinguishes businesses in workspaces will be how much capacity or capability they can build from being physically located in those spaces. Otherwise, they're no different from the guy who's doing the business out of his bus quarters in Iraq.
All right, thank you. I think last week we had a chit chat, and I was asked what is the number one problem I could identify from my experience in running the co-working hub, and I said number one thing that we realized is capacity, and there's a gap in capacity acquisition, because when we do this, when you are hub, maybe you joined January, they match you out because you couldn't pay, and then whatever. When you leave, we try to find out why did you leave. Has it outgrown our space? Has it moved to a bigger space? Or is the business down? Is it out of business? It couldn't continue again? Or has it gone to use the traditional office rents, you know, go to take their own space and whatever? And by the time we put the figures together, we discovered that 60% couldn't continue because they kind of folded up. You understand? So we realized that, okay, for us to remain in business, for us to be investable, we need to ensure that our demands are high. We always have people in our facilities and all of that. So which means that's why we not spend more, and I believe it's part of our strongest value proposition. Why we have to come and use our own is we develop people, we give platforms whereby you can get yourself trained up, you can we have seminars, we have conferences. It's not just for work being alone. Almost all the co-working hubs in Lagos the same. Because we discovered that it's when these people remain in business, that's when we remain in business. It cost me a lot before I could market a particular space. I prefer one company to be there for a long time.
Because when you go, the space you're not there, and missing money, the amount I'm going to spend to market to bring you in. So we're really spending a lot on capacity development, which is part of, like I said, one of our strongest value propositions to boost our use of co-working up. So that you're not going to be alone. You're not just going to be there alone, we take them out to ensure you run an effective bank account. That's the bank, we take it serious. You can't be doing cash business and all of that. So we're not really relenting on ensuring people acquire the necessary skill, which is part of what they gain when you come and use a co-working. Also, I want to agree with the fact that capacity development is one key area that we should work on, and it's what we're already spending heavily on. At times, not just us as owners, we spend bringing people in, we have seminars, training, conferences for our accounts.
Okay, thanks. So, Sean, okay. All right. Very quickly, sir.
I think for us in Fidelity, the fundamental underpinning of our SME intervention is capacity building, which is stemming from the fact that we realize that a lot of the SMEs that die 1 month, 2 months, 3 years after they're established, it's not necessarily because the entrepreneur does not even want to succeed, or possibly is not enthusiastic about what he's doing. It's just one of those structural issues. He possibly doesn't keep his books, he doesn't understand that he needs to separate that business from himself and all of those things. So for us, we are already very strong with capacity building, both on a one-on-one basis, in which case you come to us or we go to you and we're talking about your business, or the scheduled trainings and seminars we typically hold on identified areas of business management, with several people. It's not like everybody's in-house and the other. So for us, this whole collaboration with co-work spaces is actually going to start the downward bit of capacity building. I mean, you are a manager of spaces. You possibly shouldn't worry yourself and your business head with trying to teach somebody how to keep his goods. We would like to partner with you, for instance, to say, these guys are already not there before. We want to grow them along the several lines of business management, so that those businesses that they are going to run in your space are ordinarily they succeed at it, and then they are there to pay you. I mean, possibly for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And all of that capacity building for us in Fidelity is not just so much of those classroom situations.
Okay, sorry, I have to come in now because we are short on time and we have to still take questions from the audience.
All right.
But Sean, one last question for you. So, I mean, if you look at the trajectory of your institution, you've grown now from a 2-man team to a much larger team. So back in the day when I wanted to reach you, one phone call, one email, send, he reply. So but now he's now a big businessman. So when you email him now, when he replies in like 3 days, you now copy someone and say, sorry, actually this guy will get in touch with you. So and there's some other people, I'm sure he's still a good guy, he will still sends the reply. There's some other people that I email, and then all I get is the assistant from whoever just comes in and says XYZ is not available now, but leave a message with me and I'll handle it. And so you guys have grown, right? But one other thing I see, especially in financing and workspaces, is the lack of proper mentoring capabilities, right? So how do you, I mean, those of you who have walked that path, right? Is there a structure that you can go back periodically? And this doesn't, it's not really a workspace related question, but just a question of you've gone through some growth trajectory. You can go back to say, hey, you know what, I sat in here 2 years ago. These are the 3 things I got out of this place. You are sitting there now, these are the things I think you should focus on. This is how I built my business. I mean, some of it is not structured, right? So, I mean, the path is more obvious when you look back. But is there something you can say, hey, these are the dots I managed to connect? And so, someone who's coming 3 years down the line, this is what you should learn from me, and this is how I was funded. And if it was fortuitous, I mean, so be it. Being in the right place himself might be a skill. So is that something you're doing to help solve that problem?
Look, so quickly, the press for time. One is relationships. Everybody will tell you about raising money. It's like you're looking for a partner. You need to know that it's not the day you meet the person, possibly it's not the day you date the person that finally you would propose. And somehow we're always in a hurry, We meet the person and you're already shouting out, how this business have an idea. You calm down, cultivate the relationship. Even Jesus, even in the Bible, it says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and that thing will be added. So don't seek you. So cultivate the relationship. A lot of people don't do it. And you don't even, because even in a co-working space, the founders, the partners, for the person managing this space will around, and then when we show you around, like, this is. So that's where it starts, and take you a while, and then you that there's a proven point of impact about what you're doing. So when we explore this panel, it comes to grants, and it's been helpful for idea for co-creation about international organizations, for media network thinking. We want to invest in co-creation of the co-working space. And it's something we should also explore. Yes, in the early stages, sometimes when you're going to build that cross, who's going to build that problem might not be the equity guys, might not be the debt guys. And so maybe being persistent on that door is maybe the problem as you go on, but somehow you could be very helpful in the early age. So it's always about managing relationships and being a good relationship person. Secondly, I would say mentoring them back in that space. So two things we're doing budgets. This Saturday we're launching our own space, our own, maybe not a co-working space, but we call it the Civic Tech Center. So this we want to start thinking about innovation that has to do with changing the way governance is in Nigeria. So maybe building more budgets, specific governance, not anything social issues. And so we're opening up in this Saturday in Lagos, it's also in Java at the same place. So we're also trying to find a way, because every time I get a badge of people say, I have this idea, how would I go? I feel okay, let's try out this. So something that we want to try and give back in that way. And secondly, once in a while I get back to CCL that they invite me for meetings, also give back about it. So I'm always open to say this is the way I can connect or build this partnership. But like I said, it takes a while. It's not always like it's fast food. Thank you.
So I believe we can take 3 questions from the audience. First maybe advantage will be you. Who's next? There's a gentleman there, and before I am accused of being, yes, I would like to take a lady. Any takers? Going, gone. So, third question. Alright, so can we get a microphone to the gentleman in the striped shirt?
My name is Joe McCalva. I run a co-working space called Mr. Point in Alba. Now, here's my question. I'm going to direct the question to you.
To me?
Yes.
Did you tell me that was part of the brief?
Well, because I think, because as that capacity building, when people come to my space, for instance, because the concept of co-working space, as it cannot be, it's global, but every environment has a specific capacity to really absorb. If you say WeWork, WeWork is profit driven, people are able to pay 600 and something per space. I don't can pay that in Nigeria at the moment. There is so much compared with the population. So you have co-working spaces in Lagos. How the co-working space will become a lot of people. So I'm just going to go to the point. Now, without capacity building, there's a role that I think government can play to provide people, because I want to call this people, I don't can I even build. So what can government do to provide people that can help people that are incubating, for instance, the spaces, to build capacity so that when either is Indian investor fund or is bank fund, they have what it takes to access the opportunities. The people that want the space now don't necessarily be able to do that to the scale of which, because I don't have to pay people who they will say, how much what are you paying us? I can't really pay you. That's about, there's a lot I want to say, but that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, so I knew that was part of the brief. So let me answer. So we do it this way: question, answer. So answer a question very quickly. I agree with you absolutely, and I didn't plan that question, but I have a very good answer to you. So at the Employment Trust Fund, I'm happy and comfortable enough to say that look, we have a very clear plan to support workspaces and entrepreneurs. So we just finalize like I said, our innovation framework. And part of what that framework does is it's actually not just helping accelerate businesses, it's also to improve the capacity of workspace owners, right? So it's also saying this is how you can run a profitable workspace, and these are the kind of programmatic interventions you should be putting out of your workspace. So we will bring in dedicated resources pretty much at no cost to you. If you qualify, if your workspace qualifies. So that's the first thing. But on the flip side as well, we realize that many of the workspaces are struggling because the businesses can't afford to pay for a sustainable period. So we're also going to launch a voucher scheme where, again, if you're a startup and you qualify, right, we provide you a voucher that will allow you 6 maybe to 12 months of free workspace, and we'll pay the workspace on your behalf. So on that side, the founders get free workspace, the workspaces get guaranteed business, and potentially we can, because it's a timing problem, right? So in the early stages of these ecosystems, you find that those funding limitations could kill the system. So what governments will do and should do is to just intervene on a periodic basis to ensure that it survives till it matures on its own. And it's not even just Lagos State. The federal government, I'm also aware, is working with the World Bank, to help even deepen the quality of the infrastructure around that space. So absolutely I agree with you, and thanks for asking me a question I can answer. Thank you. The second question, gentleman, you guys want to join lots because I see both of you now. But it was actually the man standing. Yes.
Right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Oluwaseun Shonake. I run a shoemaking company called Mahana Shoes. We've been talking about co-working space. So I kind of wonder, how do shoemaking come into this space? Because when we talk about shoemaking,
sorry, just when you ask your question, please just direct it to one of the panelists.
Alright,
I'm not the moderator, by the way.
Alright, so I was kind of wondering, how does shoemaking come into this co-working space? Because we actually want to do what everybody wants to hear about. And the way shoemaking is going in Nigeria, you can just do it on your own. Because you're trying to just convince people, we can do this, we can do this. So when it comes to co-working space, how does that industry come in?
Okay, so I think the natural person to ask is the man who runs a co-working space.
Okay. Hello? Alright. So let me present this. Every business has unique problem, unique challenges, and we try to figure out what do I need to overcome these issues. The reason why business co-working ops is simply because we are able to provide solutions to their numerous problems. Internet, constant power, lovely environment to, upgrade your status, meeting places and all of that. So the goal is for you to sit down, what and where do I need to scale? What and where do I need to take my business from where it is to where I want to take it to? Like in our Ikeja office, we have a team of, there's an office there, she doesn't show there, but that's like a corporate, that's where people come, she take the measurements in her office, do the basic things, the corporate things there. Yeah, she might not bring the machine there, and that's one reason was the audience there that actually was a co-working or centered around table, you understand? So you have to sit down and think, what do I need? What can I suffer? What is it that is affecting my business? Is it power? Okay, this co-working or will give me opportunity to run without having issues with power on and all of that. So just think and look at what our value propositions is and see how it fits into what you do. Then you can decide whether but I think you actually do need it.
Let me add to that. From my little understanding of the shoe business, one key component for you is design. And that's probably in the world today is technology driven. So when you think of a working space, for me, it's probably that one space where if they put in place technology, that they have partnerships that will let with software that can help you design a shoe in 2 minutes, and you send it somewhere and they do something. That's the kind of thing I think you need to. That's what a co-working space could do for you. Probably put you on a different level, compared to any other person or other people in your space in that particular vertical of your value chain.
So final question.
My name is Leon Remoni. I'm a co-founder of Washers. So my question is very simple. So the man from Lagos Angel Investors and LSETF as well, what kind of traction are you looking out for in a small business before you say okay, this person will probably qualify for some funding or for some financing. Because oftentimes it looks like there are no structured requirements. You go to this particular person is telling you you need to, you must have done this and that. That he knows that without necessary funding, you may not even be able to get to that point where he wants you to get to before you get funding. So what are the basics? Like, if you run an app, for instance, before you come to meet me, I need you to have 100 users, for instance. Or if you have a small business, are you earning up to certain amount of money? So that before I come to meet you, I know what to work towards. Before coming to meet you, they say, okay, maybe I'm making 50,000 naira profit every month. Do I qualify for something? Instead of these blankets, standards and whatever it is, that at the end of the day, you're not able to meet these requirements, and on the other hand, you're not able to grow because you're not meeting these requirements. So my question is, what are the basics to qualify for research?
Okay, for us at Lagos Angel Network, I think there are two main things. One, you are incorporated. You actually are a business entity. And secondly, you are either pre-revenue or post-revenue. We have two different tracks for those kind of businesses. Now, once you meet those two criteria, every other thing is now, I would say, company specific. So I can't tell you you need to have 100 users or you need to have 50. Each business is different. I think what we're primarily looking for, there are some things we look out for, and each carries some level of weight. Well, first of all, what is the proposition? What are you bringing to the table of this? Who is doing this? So are we looking at just you as an individual, or is there a team behind you? Also, the economics of the business. Is this something that can actually scale if properly funded? And then also, how do you see yourself growing over the next 12, 18 months? Truth is that angel money or seed money or early stage money is just to help you determine whether there's a business or not. It is not just to solve your problem, but it takes you to the next level where you are more attractive for other sources of funding, you are more attractive for banks, and you are more attractive for any other person who now says, look, I'm ready to invest in you.
So again, I mean, I realize Kola is very convenient for him to sleep after this time. Kola, I think I was very clear that I was only going to be here to moderate and not to answer questions. But I mean, to answer you, I guess first, it's a risk profile conversation, right? So if we take our job at the Employment Trust Fund, there's one part of our job that is clearly debt funding. Now, clearly, if you're taking debt, then you must have some track record of revenues because debt capital is impatient. So that is very impatient. We are quite patient, but as you go down the debt corridor, even on this panel, the patience starts to thin out. But now being serious, I mean, so that's the first part. The second part is, there's also some clarity around, I think what the founder of the company needs to recognize is what kind of investor am I talking to. So some people will say, pretty much like government establishments will say, no, I'll do something at pre-seed stage, because that's where the pipeline falls through, right? So if you go to, for example, you may actually be overqualified, right? Because this is a pre-seed fund, and what you are is you've gone past that stage, right? So most times, to Sheldon's point, yes, it's business specific, but most times it's really around the life stage of the business. But you can't expect like a scorecard, right? Or like an interview sheet that says a tick box, right? That says if you tick these 10 boxes. Because in many instances, for example, I'll tell you, the only one I can say for us is important is the quality of the individual, the founder. Now, personally, and this is my personal opinion, I would back someone who's either done a business before and failed, who's worked in an organization that's done similar stuff to what he's trying to do, or someone that has some functional experience, right? Because we think that those people are more resilient. Now, the analysis of that, or the evaluation of that, in itself is subjective. So even though I'm giving you like broad
requirements, you might still fit broadly into the requirements, but then if I only have 3 spaces, right, and there are 20 of you, then I'm going to introduce some subjectivity and picking the best way. So I don't think you'll ever find a situation where it's very prescriptive and you say this is why it's either a yes or a no. But if you are coming to borrow from us, if you want to take a loan, if you go to our website, if you tell you must live in Lagos, you must pay tax, you must earn the revenue of this, you must have run the business for this long. And generally speaking, if you meet all these requirements, then you have a high chance, like an 80 to 90% chance of getting the debt funding. Does that help you? I know it doesn't answer you completely, but I think it helps.
Yeah, can I just jump in from a founder's point of view? Because we've done some raising as well for some time since we started the company. I think that as simple as that question is summarizing the term, always be raising. And it's not really always raising in the sense always looking for money, but I think the key determinant is who you're speaking to. Because one person could be excited about your idea before you've made a dime. One person might be waiting for traction. The answer is you don't know. It doesn't, and the truth is it doesn't matter. It only depends on the person you're speaking to. So instead of waiting to say, I want to reach X traction point before I start speaking to this person, I want to reach Y traction point, just speak to people. Look, I have this idea, we're doing this, we're raising X amount of money, are you going to support us? Some people will say no, some people will say yes. It helps if there's something to back it, but I think the answer is just always be raising.
So to earn my bonus, you need to finish at 3:30. Yes. So it just comes to 30 seconds.
Alright, I think one other thing that this your question throws up is the role of capacity building. You're being in some situation, whether structured or unstructured, to know what is available, both on the equity side, possibly from government or institutions like the Lagos India Network, and indeed on the debt side, when the banks typically require. So you must also, as a budding business person, you must also try and put yourself in situations where you are continually informed. And then you then have an array of sources and indeed what those unemployment, what the requirements are like. Okay, so you put the foot in the door.
I still have to end my bonus. So on this note, please, ladies and gentlemen, please put a round of applause together for my panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear panelists. That was quite an insightful session. Free Wi-Fi still available for those who want it. So it's freewifi.ng hotspot. And of course, for those of you who are tweeting and those who are Instagramming, the hashtag is CoworkingNG. And of course, you may follow us at CoworkingNG on Twitter and Instagram. Okay, so as the panelists make their way out, we have just one more session, and you do not want to miss this one. But in the meantime, I would like for you to just keep your eyes glued to the screen as we take this short video break. Thank you.